Municipality is strengthening public obedience and participation in Durban. They have prioritised certain bylaws in making sure that the community complies with rules and regulations of the city. Bylaws are passed by the Executive Council of a municipality to regulate the affairs and the services it provides within its area of jurisdiction, which gives certain specified powers and competencies to local government. Thulani Mbatha, the senior media liaison for the EThekwini Municipality, joins us now from our Durban studios to give us a little bit more about all of this. Good to have you, Thulani. Thanks so much for joining us on the program.
Inviting us.
All right, Thulani, let's get into it straight away. What are some of the bylaws that have now come into effect?
These bylaws include the two bylaws that came into effect on Friday, the 11th of March. One is the nuisance and behavior in public places, and the other is that deals with derelict buildings. It's a problem building bylaw that came into effect on Friday. I need to explain that most of the bylaws are being implemented in a staggered approach. So people will see more and more bylaws coming into place from now on. But the first two that I've mentioned are the ones that were implemented on Friday.
Okay, give us a bit of more detail. What do they entail, these two new bylaws?
The two new bylaws, firstly, the nuisance and behavior bylaw deals with the whole range of issues, from littering to urinating in public to begging to hanging your clothes in an area that's not designated for that, on the buildings, washing your cars on the pavements, and a whole range of issues that are obviously a challenge to the municipality in keeping the city clean and tidy for its residents and visitors.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about news, we're talking about litter, we're talking about conduct regarding vehicles, such as washing and repairing vehicles in public spaces, right? Nuisance behavior is what you're calling it. Vegetation on your property growing out of control, obstructing, blocking, disrupting traffic, excavation in public areas, weed killers, herbicides, poisons, vandalism of municipal property, and a nuisance arising from the use of a premises. What is the fine? What is the penalty on people?
The fines really range from as little as 100 Rand all the way up to 5,000 Rand. And I think there's an area, in case some of our viewers have been confused, there's an area that's been publicized quite widely. A figure of 40,000 Rand mentioned that you could be fined up to 40,000 Rand. That, in fact, that figure comes into being, it caters for, because some of these laws last in excess of 30 years, it caters for inflation. So it doesn't really apply. If you look at the law as it stands now, the bylaws that as it stands now, there is no 40,000 Rand reflected. So it ranges from 100 Rand up to 5,000 Rand, and obviously there's an imprisonment in case of people not being able to pay. Fine.
The issue of beggars on the streets, is that in effect? Is it not legal now to beg at traffic lights and stop streets?
It's illegal. It's illegal. Really, I think Leanne, if we need to go back to the issue of education, the municipality is really looking at emphasizing on education as opposed to looking at this implementation of bylaws as an enforcement. This really goes hand in hand with education. So when you talk about specifically the issue of begging on the street, we know that it poses danger, because as much as we understand the situation around poverty in our country, but the reality is that some people will take advantage of that and use that, to disrupt, the welfare of the drivers on the road. And also, if you look at what happens in the traffic, it also disrupts the traffic, when you have people moving around at traffic intersections.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the workshops that, they work on the side of the road. It will bring into play taxi drivers that are washing their vehicles on the side of the roads or at the taxi ranks. Some, you'll find some shops that do fix cars on the side of the road, and that's just how they operate their businesses, and they have done for years. Give us an idea. Is this now something that's illegal, that you have to now do this behind walls in designated areas?
The law does deal with that. You have to work within designated areas. Of course, there have been consultations with stakeholders, including businesses. There will be exceptions when, for example, if there's a specific job that has to be carried out in a certain place, there will be special permissions given to that. But if there's no permission, the law would obviously be taking care of all of those.
So you have to get a permission to do this. Does this apply to vendors as well? I mean, whenever you go to many of the cities in South Africa, and I mean, Durban has to be one of the biggest, where there are vendors selling their things on the side of the road.
EThekwini has a very healthy relationship with its informal traders. In fact, probably I can proudly say that it's probably one of the best in the country, and we do have forums where the consultations take place in designated places, and the office relating to that is dealing with that issue. The informal traders are understood; they have designated areas, and there will be cases where people are asked to move to operate in areas specifically designed for that.
Yeah. There's also another issue about urinating in public, and this is something that's been spoken about for quite some time, that this is now also deemed illegal and you can be fined if you're seen urinating in public. A, is this true? B, have you got plans to put up more public toilets? Because that is a big problem as well. There's a lack of public toilets, and I suppose when people are walking long distances, what do they do?
The issue of urinating in public is always been illegal, and in fact I need to explain that the bylaw is not new. It's the implementation and enforcement that we're talking about, and the building of public toilets is an ongoing issue that the municipality is dealing with, and we believe that we are doing enough in terms of putting up infrastructure for people to be able to use, so that we are able to implement and manage these bylaws.
Thulani, this is the beginning, I imagine, of a big change and turnaround for the city. But the one question I haven't asked, and I have to wrap, is how it's all going to be policed, because it's a great effort to clean up the city, but in order to police it it's going to take a big effort, I can imagine. Thulani Mbatha, thank you for joining us, Senior Media Liaison for the EThekwini Municipality. We'll certainly pick up this conversation with you. Thank you.